going to start with our feet on the band, and feet hip width apart. In the middle of the band, make sure the band is nice and flat underneath your feet. You're pushing your feet out a little bit, and then you're going to bend your knees and take hold of the band. So just take the slack out of the band and then straighten your legs. And depending on how much tension you've got in the band, it should make you feel like if you allow that tension to just hang, or just allow your upper body to go with that amount of stress in the band, it'll make you collapse over, so you might be here. And then I would like you to try and stand as tall as possible, so that you're pinning the shoulders back, you're pushing the feet down into the floor, straight down into the floor, you're lifting the crown of the head up, lengthening the whole spine, and then we're going to lift the shoulders up towards the ears and allow that stress and tension in the band to slide the shoulders back down again. You shouldn't have to work too hard on that bit. So breath in as those arms come up, breath out as you lower. Breath in and breath out. Making sure the weight is even on the fronts of, and the fronts of the feet, the balls of the foot and the heel. The balls of the feet and the heels of the feet, both feet. And then we're lifting and lowering, and then let's change the breathing round. So breath in when you're here, shoulders are down. Now breathe out, take the shoulders up, lift that pelvic floor. Breathe in as the shoulders slide down and grow even taller. Breath out, breath in to lower. Breath out, breath in to lower. One more, breath out, breath in to lower. If this is starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable in your lower back, then just release the band a little bit. If you're not really getting much resistance, then maybe tighten it up a little bit. From here, let's take the shoulders forwards, up, across the back across to the back at the top, and then down at the back. So we're drawing a big square, but smooth the corners of the square out to make it a nice big circle. Going backwards to start with, and then let's change direction, coming forwards, up and over with those shoulders. All the while standing tall, lengthening that spine. And this work should start to make you feel warm across the back of the neck. So let's just touch your hands with your legs so that you're making sure you're keeping your hands and shoulders nice and still, and turn the head from side to side to start with. If all of these movements feel okay, move on to another one. If they feel a little bit tight, if one side feels a bit tight, for me going to the left today is a little bit uncomfortable, so I'm just going to do a couple more, making sure the hands are staying really still. Then the next movement would be maybe to lift the ear up towards the ceiling, keeping the face forwards, and this is a classic where the legs, sorry, not the legs, the hands want to slide up and down on the legs. Try and keep them absolutely still, no change at all. Brilliant. And then I'm going to take a semicircle with my chin. I'm going to turn my head completely to the side, draw that chin down, lift up to the other side. And that's all feeling quite good today, so I'm going to do the top half of the circle. Imagine you're drawing that semicircle with your chin. Be aware of what's going on with the hands, touching the legs. There's some squelching and crunching going on in the neck, but that's all absolutely fine. And I'm just going to finish off with a little bit of a shoulder roll both ways, and just to release that off. Great, let's come off of standing on the band. And we're just going to find out the amount of give and stretch that you've got in your band. And also notice as you do all of this work, where you're feeling tension in your muscles, if you're feeling any tension. So I'd like you to keep your arms quite straight to start with, and keep the band quite low. And with a fairly relaxed grip, your thumbs do most of the work to keep the band in place. And a fairly strong, straight wrist as well. So no strange things going on in the wrist. Just stretching the band out sideways. Arms going in the opposite direction. And we're gradually lifting the band up. So it's in front of my chest now, and then I'm going to take it up even higher. So each time, just going a little bit higher, so it's above my head. When I get to above my head, I'm going to go this way for a change. I'm going to go slightly back. If that is okay for your shoulder, then absolutely carry on. If it hurts your shoulder or anything feels uncomfortable, don't do it. Just keep it within your range. Same thing, but place the band behind your hips. Keep your palms facing backwards. You'll need to go a little bit closer with your hands here and stretch the band out. And notice where you feel that. So I instantly felt a little bit of a twinge in my right shoulder then, which is my bad shoulder. Just noticing. So most of this work, you should feel some muscle activity around your whole shoulder girdle and the backs of your arms, your triceps. Then I'm going to change the position of my hands, so palms are facing forwards. I'm going to go wider on the band, and then notice that now I can go much further apart with my hands. Arms lift up at the back, feels quite nice. It makes me aware of the muscles around my back and the sides. Great job. Coming forwards again. This time we're going to see what it feels like with one end fixed. I'm going to go this way. So I've got my right arm in front of my shoulder. My right arm is going to stay absolutely fixed at a right angle to my body, so it's there. And my left arm is just going out to the corner. I've stretched the band out so it's nice and straight, but there's no tension just yet. I'm going to keep the right arm really still, and I'm only going to pull that left arm back without moving my hips or my shoulders as I do this. So pulling back. So from the front it looks like this. Again, noticing where are you feeling muscle activation. So it's quite hard work to keep this one arm still. And then notice what you have to do to get that other arm to move back. And it's only the arm that's moving, so you're not helping with the rest of the body. Let's swap sides. So the other arm in front, you don't need to move the position of the band, your position of your hands on the band, but we've got the same level of tension. If this is too easy, if you're here and you've got a load of slack and you're just sort of flapping that side arm about, you've got too much slack. So keep it quite taut and then challenge yourself. So challenge yourself. So I can bring this arm to 90 degrees fairly easily, and then I just want to squeeze a little bit more. So it's sort of starting off at 45 degrees, 90 is there, and I'm pushing that tiny little bit more there. Great, let's do the same thing with the arm up above the head. Something that I've noticed in class this week is our wrists. I want your wrist to be nice and straight at the top. So make a straight fist. And when I mean straight, I'm talking about the little finger side of your wrist. Band pretty much in the same position as we just were. Let's have the feet a little bit wider this time. Keep one arm up by your ear and just draw the other arm down at the side of your body. And again, try and keep both wrists nice and straight. So there's no twiddling at this side, there's no weakening of that joint at your wrist. Keep it straight, keeping the arm straight. Swapping sides, so we're completely at the side of the body. Both wrists, so it's very easy for the top one to tip. So my little finger side is tipped over there. I want that arm nice and straight, the wrist nice and straight, and the same thing on this side. I'm tipping up towards my thumb, but then I push the thumb down so that wrist stays nice and straight. And as we did before, there's quite a lot of tension going on in the band there. Perfect, okay. From here, we're moving into my famous up and over. So the first movement we want to do from here is the feet nice and wide. Have a reasonable amount of slack in the middle of the band. You're going to take the band up and over past your head. It needs to stretch out, but your hands need to be at the same level. The band is nice and parallel to the ceiling. And then I'm going to let it relax down. I'm going to let my arms relax down by my side. The band is now behind. And then I'm going to come back up and over. So just try that a couple of times. If it's too tight, if you've got your hands too close together and you're sort of doing this climbing through thing and it's hurting your shoulders, then hands are too close together. If you're too far apart, you'll sort of knock your head off, and there's no need to, there's no stretch here. I'm just happy to be straightening it out. So find the middle ground, a bit of stretch, but not uncomfortable on the shoulders. Okay, we're going to add on to that. I'm going to go sideways on. So we're going to take the arm up and over. As you breathe out, relax your arms down by your sides. Breathe in here. Take a big breath in. Feel the ribs expanding sideways into your armpits. Breathe out. Bring the band up above your head. Now as you breathe in, bend your knees, bring your elbows in, roll down to the floor, and then just hang from your waist. As you breathe out, straighten your legs. Breathe in, bend your knees, roll up through the spine, pushing the pubic bone forwards as you unravel, then you're ready to go again. That one was maybe, let's do that 4 more times. So maybe you didn't quite see what was going on there, but have a little go. So we're going to try and do, each movement has its own breath, either in or out. So breathing in to prepare without going anywhere. First rhyme of class. Breath in, and then a big breath out. Relax here, breath in, breath out. Arms are up. Now we're breathing in as we implode. It's a weird movement, that one. You breathe out as you straighten the legs, nod the head, shake the head, bend the knees, roll up, leave the arms to hang, tuck that pelvis under. This is a whole breath in. As you get to the top, you're ready to breathe out, up and over. Breath in. Breath out. Arms coming up. Breath in. Completely wrong way around. Breath out as you straighten your legs. Shake the head. Wiggle the hips around. It's quite relaxed. Breath in as you bend your knees. Roll up through the spine. Push that pubic bone forwards. We've got 2 more. Breath out. Holding here. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in. Relax. Breath out. Bend the knees. Breath in. Last one. All the way up and over. Breath out. Relax here. Breath in. Breath out. This is the strange one. Draw everything in. Round your back. Bend your knees. Breathing out. Really relax here. Just maybe move the hips from side to side. You've got lots of time. Nod the head. Last one. Breath in. Unravel yourself up through the spine. Great job. Okay. Coming back to one arm up and one arm out to the side. Pretty much keeping the hands in the same place. We're going to go around. I call it around the world. It's like you're putting a cloak on. In the same way we just mobilised our spine and our shoulders, we're now mobilising rib cage, maybe changing direction. If you find the end of the band is flapping into your face and annoying you, you can either go a little bit quicker, give it a bit more momentum, or just gather the ends up in your hand. But the focus, if I go sideways, is getting that rib cage moving and changing direction. So the side arm stays pretty much level with your shoulder all the way through. And if that, again, with all of this stuff, if it's too much, loosen the band. If it's way too much with the band, then take the band away. If that even doesn't suit you, keep your arms bent, maybe just do some shoulder rolls or some wiggling about, just to get some blood flow to the rib cage area, your thoracic spine. Then we are moving into one leg stand. So you're going to stand on your weaker leg first, and we're going to put the other foot in the band. Find the ends of your band. So we want the foot in the middle of the band, and you want your toes, the top of your, you want a bit of band to be over the top of it, just past your top of your toes, if that makes sense. So no toes peeking out, I think is what I'm trying to say there. So if I go to my, if I put my band on the edge of my green mat, my toes are just inside, it's about 2 centimetres inside the band. Then I'm going to cross the band over at my ankle, so you end up with your foot being sort of wrapped up. It's like a bit like a peep toe shoe. And then we're going to stand on one leg, and I'm going to go sideways to show you this one. So if you're worried about your balance, you can have your heel on the floor. We're going to point the foot and flex the foot. You can either have your heel touching the floor, then your toes touching the floor, but we're working through the foot. But if you can, I would like you to, and even if you're continuing to touch the floor all the way through with this one, stretch that band up and attach your hands to your hips. Pin your elbows back. So now I've got a bit of support for holding my leg up in the air actually, but what I mainly want is for you to be using the resistance in the band. So as I point my foot, I'm extending my ankle, then I'm pointing my toes. I'm pulling my toes up first, then flexing the foot. Standing up beautifully straight on that one leg. Your tissue box, I'm facing forwards, but it's the same thing. The tissue box of your shoulders and your hips absolutely square to your front. Standing leg is nice and straight. My t-shirt's got a little bit hitched up, but I know I'm in a good alignment. Both sides of the waist are equal. I'm not shortening on one side or the other. Try and get those toes working. I'm going to go much closer to my camera. Don't have the luxury of a cameraman to help me. So this is what I'm doing with my foot. Extending the ankle, then the toes. Toes, ankle. Ankle, toes, toes, ankle. Try and do those 2 stages if you can. Then, holding the same position, pin those shoulders back a little bit. There's a tendency to let them collapse forwards if you stop thinking about them. Open up the collarbone. Then we're going to circle the foot at the ankle. It's only the foot circling at the ankle that's moving, but because I've got quite a lot of stretch on my band, and I'm actually putting my hands slightly further around my back to help me, give me even more resistance, and this actually feels quite nice. Every part of the circle of my foot is meeting some resistance with the band, changing direction if you can. It's quite tough on the balance. My standing leg is starting to get a little bit tired. We're nearly done. We've got one more thing to go. Circling all around. Last exercise. Flex your foot. Keep your foot and your leg nice and straight. Keep your foot flexed and keep your leg nice and straight. Now draw a figure of 8, either with your heel or with your big toe. It's a fat, rounded figure of 8 and it's lying on its side. Now you're moving the leg from the hip. There's no movement at the knee, there's no movement at the ankle. My standing leg is really starting to hurt now. When you would like to stop, try and do a couple more in that same direction and then change direction. Just for a few, if you can, standing up really nice and tall. And again, if you're worried about your balance, you can brush the heel to the floor. It doesn't have to be very high up in the air. Hand, woo, that's enough. Great, okay, so lots of work going on that standing hip and thigh, hip and buttock for me. It might be somewhere else in your leg, that's absolutely fine. We're all built slightly differently. So as always with the band, with any equipment, and with most of the exercises that we do, setup is all important. So get the whole of your foot in the band, have your toes just back a little bit, cross the band over at the ankle, pull it quite tight, get your hands to your hips, standing on your other leg, nice and straight, shoulders, hips absolutely square, your tissue box is in place. I'm going to go to the side again. So heel could be touching the floor, then toes touching the floor. I don't mind, but I would like for the ankle to extend, then the toes, then the toes, then the ankle. Those two stages happening. Checking that your torso is in its correct position. There's no shortening one side or the other. Your hips are like headlamps, your shoulders are like headlamps, facing forwards. Headlights of a car, headlamps. Standing leg nice and straight, my ankle's wobbling about a little bit, it's absolutely fine. Then I'm going to go for a tiny bit tighter on the band. I'm going to actually take my hands a little bit more around my back, and I'm circling the foot at the ankle. And as you can see, and probably hear a bit as well, there's quite a lot of tension in the band, friction in the band. So I'm going to change direction. And I'm trying to move my foot and my toes around as much as possible from that ankle joint. I'm trying to draw the biggest circle I can with my toes, my big toe mainly. And change direction a couple of times again. And my toes just trying to escape out of the band. The more band you've got wrapped around your foot, the more resistance you've got, the more effective this is going to be. And then finishing off, our last movement here is our figure of 8. Flexing the foot, draw the figure of 8 with your heel or your big toe, top of your big toe. It's a nice rounded figure of 8. What I mean by that is it's nice and rounded, the circles are even. Ooh, both sides. Standing leg is starting to go a little bit, and then let's change direction. So we're moving from the hip, that's the only place we're moving from. Your hand, your release, brilliant. So quite strong work going on there. Lots of things going on when we use the band. You've got your resistance, depending on, and you can control the amount of resistance. So that part of it is great. It's very versatile. It's very light. You're doing lots of different things all at the same time. So in that last exercise, we were working on the balance. We were working on strengthening the intrinsic muscles in the foot. We were working on our grip. Just being able to hold that grip for that amount of time is great. It's a good thing that we're doing. So now let's just fold the band in half. So essentially making it quite strong. We're not trying to stretch it apart too much. Let's have the feet quite wide. When we get going, we're going to add some squats in a moment. Your feet are going to be as wide as your yoga mat. So facing forwards on there. Hands are opposite my chest and shoulder width apart. And this is me just with the band straight. And then I'm going to think about my little finger side of my hands and just pull those little finger sides away from each other. I'm making a soft fist, and my hands, my wrists are nice and straight. There's no bending one way or the other on those wrists, really straight. So straight from that little finger knuckle along to your elbow, that's the line I'm thinking of. And because the band is quite strong, there's not a great deal of stretch going on, but, another rhyme, I can feel the muscles around my shoulder blades connecting, switching on. That's serratus switching on, which is keeping my collarbone open, shoulders down, upper back in the correct position. And then let's just relax the arms down a moment. We're now going to think about pushing the feet into the floor and pushing them outwards from each other. So it's like you're trying to split the mat apart. So push the feet outwards, but I shouldn't really see, well, if I could see you in class, I shouldn't really see any change in tone. Hopefully you'll feel a change in tone, but I want you to imagine a trail, a track, all the way around underneath of your foot, and it goes all the way around. It's a little bit lifted where the instep is, but basically that track all the way around on both feet, you're keeping it equally weighted. So what I'm trying to say is when you push out, you're not going to roll out on your ankles as well, because that would mean that the track wasn't evenly weighted, if that's making any sense at all. So pushing out, holding it for a count of 2, relaxing, pushing out, noticing whether there's any muscle activation going on anywhere. So for me, I feel it up, top of the hip, outside edge of the hip, I should say, top of the thigh, little bit of a pelvic floor switch on, activation, broadening maybe. And then when I relax, that all goes away. And I'm just standing quite normally. Now let's draw the legs in towards each other. Same thing with the feet. Keep the feet evenly weighted all the way round that athletics track, round the underneath of your foot. There's a weird analogy. So this one is quite different. This is really quite strong, and I really feel a change in tone in my inside thighs. When you feel that change in tone in your inside thighs, your adductors, you are 100% activating pelvic floor as well. And just those lower, deep, lower abdominal muscles, the whole sort of pelvic sling is really important to have good stamina and endurance in those muscles, which we don't very often get to work with. Okay, so I'm going to go sideways. We're going to take a nice wide leg, so as wide as your yoga mat, parallel squat, and we're going to take a slight stretch out on the band, nothing too major, but just at least keep it nice and straight. As you send your bottom back, keeping the chest quite upright, trying to make sure the knees are above your ankles, the weight is back in your heels. As I'm going down, I'm pushing my feet outwards, pushing my legs outwards, and I can really feel buttocks activating. As I'm coming up, I'm relaxing the arms, I'm trying to draw the legs in towards each other, keeping those feet flat, pushing out as you go down. Send the hips back, come up, draw those legs in towards each other, pushing out. So eye line on the band and your arms. I'm reaching the band forwards and it's sort of matching the angle of my back, I can see in the monitor. And then I'm just sort of looking underneath that band. So I'm keeping my chin tucked in, coming up and drawing the legs in towards each other. You don't really feel the activation on the way up until you're fully standing and the legs are straight. But try and switch those muscles on. So working quite hard. Breathing in one way, breathing out the other, if you would like to, or just not holding your breath. Perfect. Okay, we're going to add on a little bit more to this. So you're going to come down into your squat, just watch me a moment. From here, I'm going to take a hip hinge, and I'm basically going to lift my hips up, tip forwards, keeping my arms in the same position until my spine, I was a little bit too low then, till my spine is parallel to the floor. And then drop the hips down again. So I'm sort of tipping here. It's quite a strong, can be quite a strong hamstring stretch. Keeping the weight back in the heels, it's quite strong on the hip flexors as well. And then I want you to finish with your butt high, holding that there, stretching the band apart with your hands, thinking about that little finger side, and now we're only going to move the arms. Lift the arms up by your ears and lower. So we're building the stamina in the muscles around the shoulder blades. holding that spine in its neutral position, hinging from the hip. Nothing else is changing. Couple more if you can. And then drop the hips down and drive them forwards as you come up. Fantastic. We are coming to sit on the floor for the next. Okay. So sitting on the floor, sitting right on top of your sit bones. And the idea here is that your spine is in its natural curves. Your feet and knees are hip width apart, and you're going to place the band over the end of your feet, over the soles of your feet, again with a little bit of band just over the top of your toes. Flexing the feet, taking the hold of the band by your knees, and then all we're going to do initially, in fact I'm going to lengthen my legs out a little bit more. So take a slight rock from side to side, feel those sit bones. Lift your hands up a little bit. Think about that line from your elbow to your little finger being nice and straight. So the band is relaxed over your palms, and then you're just securing it by putting your thumb onto your forefinger. Keep the arms parallel, the lower arm parallel to the floor, and simply pin the elbows back and release. Sitting as upright as possible, trying to lengthen the spine, and then we're looking to pin the elbows back past your side seam. No pinching the shoulder blades together. Try and stay calm in your upper body. Legs are staying still. And this shows us again, we're working on the grip strength a little bit. We're working on the wrist strength and the alignment of the wrist, which is really important. But the other thing I want you to think about is as you release, go at the same pace as you pull back. So we're pulling the elbows back, and then we're releasing forwards. Pulling the elbows back and releasing forwards. So we're working all of our pairs of muscles, we're working them on the movement in both directions. We're working them concentrically and eccentrically, which is why even when it's tough, and let's hold those elbows back now, just hold it here, build the endurance, try and relax around your collarbone, your shoulder blades, try and relax at your hip flexors, and think of the tension around your feet. Focus your mind there, the tension in the band there, hold that there, grow as tall as you can. Can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, when it feels really tough, and this is starting to feel quite tough, you're not, and maybe not so much when we're not moving, but when we're moving and exercise, and we're going to do something side lying a little bit later on, which is really tough, you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so sore tomorrow. But you're actually not, because you've worked the muscles equally in both directions, and it's a very good way of conditioning. So holding this back here, trying to have as long a spine as possible, sitting right up on those sit bones, allowing the hip flexors to relax by changing your focus. Put your focus on, how does that band feel around your toes? How much give is going on there? Can you draw those shoulder blades down a tiny bit more? Can you lengthen your earlobes away from your collarbone a tiny bit more? And then release and relax. Have a little collapse and a little slump. Okay, great. We are moving on to using the band to help us do the perfect Pilates roll-up. And this is another great way of showing how the band really helps us to build strength and muscle memory in the right muscles to do the job, to the point where your brain starts to go, okay, I've got this now, we've got this, the muscles have got this, we can do this movement without the help of the band, once you take the band away. So we're going to try and build up to that. So let's start with the legs quite bent and the arms bent, legs and arms bent. We're going to really strongly tuck the pelvis under, scoop that tummy in. I'm just going to tuck my t-shirt into my leggings, just so that you can see what's going on here, hopefully. I know it doesn't, you can't see that well against the white background wall. Okay, so, maybe you can't see it anyway, but that well, for the moment, you'll see it in a moment hopefully. So from here, I'm keeping my arms and my legs bent, I'm tilting and scooping that pelvis. If I lift my arms up, I'm really scooped in that tummy. I'm aiming my waistband for the mat. You might not go that far just yet. Keep the arms and the legs bent, stay rounded, stay scooped, sit tall at the top. So I didn't change anything in the angles of my arms or my legs, but what I did do was I used this stretch in the band, and it feels so good. It feels so supportive. Now I've got my waistband in the mat, but I'm going to come up. So I went a couple of inches lower that time, staying rounded all the way. I'm going to go a little bit further this time. So tucking under, really scooping that tummy, keeping arms and legs bent. This band is stretching a lot now. Still got my arms and legs bent. I'm going to go to my bra strap, so mid upper back. I'm not going to rest my head down this time. I'm going to come up again, keeping everything rounded and sitting tall. This time I'm going all the way down. Keep the legs bent, keep the arms bent. Scoop that tummy out. I'm laying my head down on the floor, but I can't afford to relax. I've still got my tummy scooped under. I'm pushing my elbows into the floor. My wrists are working quite hard. My grip is working here. Then I'm going to tuck the chin in as I'm coming up to help me a little bit, because I struggle with this one anyway. I'm actually going to straighten my legs out a little bit. Just need a little, but I'm not going to straighten my arms. I'm going to straighten my legs out, which is going to give me a bit more stretch on the band, which is going to help me up. Good, so I've done that one all the way up and down now. I'm going to go again. This time I'm going to try not to straighten my legs when I come up. Staying tucked under, staying engaged. Yes, that was good, Mandy. I'm going to congratulate myself there, because I was quite impressed. Going again. So I'm now managing to do the full version. The band is helping me. Actually, we're not quite doing the full version. I'm going to release my tension on the band, so moving my hands a little bit further along towards the end of the band. So I haven't got as much stretch in the band now, but my arms and legs are staying bent. I feel like the muscles in my abdominal wall are doing exactly the work that I want them to do. I'm going to go even less now. So as I said earlier, if you haven't quite got to this stage yet, if you haven't quite got there, keep the legs bent, keep the arms bent, and then when you come up, stretch the legs away, pull the elbows back even more, will help you to come up. So use that give in the band. Okay, I'm going to do one more in this position. I'm just going to hold lightly onto the ends of the band, so it isn't helping me at all. If anything, it just looks a bit silly. If you're tuning in right now, you might be thinking, what is that girl up to? That's surely not Pilates. So I didn't need the band at all then. So then, next stage, and you might not be there yet, but if you can, this is what we're aiming for. So legs are out straight. We're sitting up, right up on those sit bones. Arms are parallel to the legs. This is significantly harder than the version we've just done, but hopefully my body can now do that. So I'm scooping under, tight, scooping that tummy, waistband is in the floor, arms are still parallel to the floor. I feel like I can go as slowly as I like because I've got the control to go one vertebrae at a time. Once my head is down, My arms are going to go up and over. I'm not allowing the ribs to flare, and I'm still scooped in my lower back. Arms have gone up and over. Now I'm going to lift my arms up when they're in front of my face. I'm going to tuck my chin in. Yes, just about managed to come up rounded and then sit tall. I'm going to roll a little bit further away. So if this was a challenge, you might get to about here and then you might find yourself collapsing onto the floor. That's fine. Try and work at it, back to the band again. If coming up is proving impossible, throw the arms a little bit. So you just get that bit of help with the momentum. Otherwise, I'm going to take one more for luck, rounding the back, arms going up and over, and coming back up, and woo, up to the top. And I'm going to take my t-shirt out, because I don't need that anymore. Brilliant. Okay, we are going to lie on our backs. Where does the time go? 48 minutes already. We're going to lie on our backs with double band again. Doesn't have to be pretty, just fold it over. So lying on your backs in the base position. And let's take our feet and knees together. And then let's just push our heels out. So we're going a little bit pigeon-toed. So squeezing the toes together, pushing the heels out, taking the arms up to the ceiling, opposite my chest. Nice straight wrists again. Thinking about that stretching out of the band. Stretching the hands away from each other. Little finger side is my focus. From here, I'm going to squeeze my knees together. So thigh bones are slightly rotating inwards. Not much. Think about the whole of your spine as it is on the mat. The spine, the back of the head as well. And think about it all being in its natural curve. So you're in a good base position. And then you're just going to stretch the arms back, the band back. Breathing out, really strongly connecting your rib cage to your hips. And then breathe in to lift the arms back up. This looks like it's a piece of cake. Make it hard work. So rib cage is drawing down. Rib cage is connecting to my hips all the way through. Breath out with those arms. Breath in as they come back up. Keep squeezing the knees together. Maybe push those heels out a little bit more. Breath out. Breath in. There's no need to touch the floor with your hands. There's no need to flip the wrist back. Don't collapse here. Just keep it nice and strong. Let's add on another rhyme-ish. Breath out to go back with the arms. Breath in to come up. Breath out to come up for an abdominal curl. Try and keep that lower back in neutral. Reach the band towards your thighs. Breath in to lower the head down. In fact, let's bring our heels together as well now. So rather than having that rotation inwards. So take the arms back, breath out. We're still squeezing knees together. Breath in to return the arms. Still pulling the hands apart from each other. Hinge at your ribs at the front. Maintain your neutral lower back, your neutral pelvis. Reach forwards. Breath in to lower. Keep going. Breath out, back. Breath into the top. Breath out, reach forwards. Stretch those arms forwards. Breath in. One more of the plain variety. Breath out, breath in, breath out, breath in. We're going to add on. You're going to keep your knees squeezing together. Arms go back, breath out. They come up to the top, breath in. As you come up this time in your abdominal curl, keep your knees squeezing together, extend one leg, point the foot, carry on with your abdominal curl, keep the pelvis nice and stable. Breath in to lower. We're alternating sides for 6, so 5 more. Arms up, squeeze the knees together, point that foot, stretch the band across your knees, reach. Try and keep your lower back absolutely still. Rib cage drawing down. Breath in. Rib cage drawing down even further. Tilt that pelvis. Point the feet. Breath in. Halfway through. Breath out. breath in, straighten the legs, squeeze the knees. 2 more. Coming up, clear the shoulder blades, keep the collarbone nice and relaxed. Last one of this variety. And then if you can, if you've got the strength today, continue with some singles if you wanted to, or let's do some doubles. So breath in to come up, lift the heels, extend the legs, squeeze the feet together, point the toes, feet down, head down, arms up, breath out. Another plain one. You can do 4 of these all together if you can. Keep that pelvis absolutely in neutral, head down. Adding on if you can and or you want to. This is a breath out, this is a breath in. I'm squeezing those knees together. Legs are together, I'm going to lower them away slightly. Lift them back up to the band, lower them, head down. Woo, breath in, 1 more of those if you can. Breath out to go back, breath in to come up, breath out. Breath in. What's that last one? Let's do 1 more. I like this. Squeeze the knees together. Breath in. Breath out. Keep that lower back in neutral. And head down and relax. Whew. I feel like I've really worked my inside thighs today. Maybe it's a little bit cumulative. Great. Okay. I mentioned putting your, I mentioned some strong work with the muscles in your legs, so we're going to do that. 2 more things to do. So we're going to put 1 foot in the band, and we're going to lie on our side. So we need to start here, so just mirror me if you can. So putting 1 foot in the band. Again, make sure you've got a little bit of band, just your toes are inside the band if you like. In the middle of the band roughly, take hold of the ends of the band, and from this sitting up position, I'm going to lie on this side. But I'm going to take the band, the ends of the band, underneath this knee, and as I lie on my side, I'm going to lie on the band at the top of my thigh, so I'm there. Now just come to here if you can, so get that underneath leg out of the way. The leg that's in the band, the foot that's in the band, that leg is bent. What I want you to test here, firstly that the band is secure, it shouldn't be going anywhere because you've got the whole of the side of your hip lying on it. Can you straighten that leg out? There should be a certain level of resistance, and then can you lift the leg up a little bit? So we're going to be taking lifting and lowering. If it's impossible to straighten the leg, you've got the band too tight, so you want to release it, lift your hip up and release it. If it's all slack and it's just wobbling about and you're not really working hard, you need to pull the band forwards a little bit more. So find that position, have this underneath leg forwards just at a right angle, as if you're lying, as if you're sitting in a chair, I guess. And then you're going to lie down on your side with that top leg straight, foot in the band, secure it with your hip. Now, if you relax that underneath side, this top hip collapses, my waist collapses. I'm going to push down. So my top hip is like lengthening away. Now my underneath side, all the way from my armpit to my hip, is lifted off of the mat. That's where I want you to work. And then we're going to, and this is hurting already, we're going to lift and lower that leg. The leg is in your straight line, as if you were standing on it. Pushing down on that underneath side. So I push down on my shoulder and at my hip, so that essentially you're making your spine into a beautiful straight line. And then you've got the wiggles on both sides of your body. They're in place as they normally would be. Oh, When this is starting to feel like you're really doing some work, and I really am already, we're going to just take that leg back, that heel back behind. In fact, you're going to put your hand on your sit bones, on the crease of your bottom, on your gluteal fold, and you're going to draw some tennis ball size circles behind your straight line. About 5 in each direction is probably all you can manage. Woo, before that hip starts to feel that it's going to explode. And notice as you take the back part of the circle, the further back you go, the more activation there is at that sit bone. Right, enough. I've had enough of that. I'm going to lie on my back, just forget about the band for a moment. So now it's my back leg that I was working, that's the one I want to stretch. I'm just going to put, even that's tough, I'm going to put my ankle across my knee. And I'm just going to let my legs roll from side to side. For me that got really quite strong in the buttock muscles, in that hip. Breathing. If you're not too crampy, it's absolutely fine. That's great, well done. If you want to move on from here, and I can just about now as it started to relax a little bit, the other thing to do is move this knee about, is lift the leg up, interlace your hands behind the knee, so you're creating a figure of 4 stretch. Circle the other foot. You might be able to put your head down, you might not. Oh, it's really struggling this today. This is my tighter side, that's my excuse, I think. Circling the foot that's in the air, just to take your mind off the stretch. And then we're going to take hold of that top foot. I'm going to pull my other knee in a little bit. I'm going to pull the foot down a little bit and using my muscles push the knee away of the side that I'm stretching. And that's already making the stretch a little bit deeper. And then I'm hanging on to that leg at the foot and the shin, and I'm moving the legs around in that figure of 4 shape, and then moving the other way around. Some parts of the circle will feel really tight, others will feel a little bit more comfortable. Oh, that was hard work. Okay, hurrah, we've got all of that on the other side. Don't you just love it that we've got 2 sides to the body? So, putting the foot in the middle of the band. Make sure the band is nice and flat. You don't need to cross over, you just need to have the band flat, all of your toes in it, and then get the ends of the band, hold them together, take them underneath the other leg, and then you're going to lie on that other side. Put your hip on the band so that it can't go anywhere. Get that underneath leg just out of the way like you're sitting in a chair. This leg is still bent for me. Can I straighten that leg? Yes I can, but it's actually a bit too tight. Too much like hard work. So you want to be able to straighten the leg, you want some resistance there, then you're going to lift and lower. Yep, that's about right for me. And then I'm lying down on my side. So the next part of the setup is no collapsing on this underneath side. So if I allow my waist to just drop, in fact with the leg up, if I allow this whole side is now in contact with the floor, I'm going to push down. So now the whole side is lifted up. Notice what happens to my hip and my waist. The waist lifts up, this hip extends away. Now hips are stacked one on top of the other. Then I'm in the right position, I'm going to lift and lower that leg. Checking that this leg is in my straight line, as if I was standing. The foot that's nice and parallel, so the instep is parallel to the floor. There's no rotation, there's no movement in the hip, there's no dipping in the waist. Check that underneath side, it should be staying still. So just starting to feel some work going on here. And then I'm going to hold that leg up. I'm going to sweep it back slightly, not much because I don't want to change the shape of my pelvis. I'm going to find my gluteal fold and sort of dig my fingers in there a little bit. And then I'm circling, tennis ball size circle, noticing, go quite slowly. Notice when does the sit bone muscles, when does the gluteal fold kick in? It's on the backwards part of the circle, which is why it's important not to let your leg come too far forwards. In fact, if it comes forward, you don't really feel it activating at all. Changing direction after about 5. Whoo. And enough. Interesting, this is my weaker side, I guess because the other side is my tighter side. It doesn't feel quite as painful on this side as it did on the other side. Oh, so just, I don't know. Actually, it does feel pretty bad. So ankle across the knee. Oh. Roll from side to side. Maybe move that knee in and out a bit. So once the muscles have all started to cramp up, you just need to let it relax a bit before you can move on to something else. Otherwise your brain is going to be distracted by that stress. And then lifting that leg up, interlacing the hands behind the head, so I can at least lie my head down a little bit more easily on this side. Circling the foot at the ankle. Just to try and take my mind off of the stretch. That's not really helping. I'm going to take hold of the foot, take hold of the shin, push the knee away a little bit, and circle and breathe. So we've targeted the same muscles really with the standing exercise in the beginning. The one leg standing and then that side lying work. I feel like we've sort of doubled up a little bit on there, which is why that feels so tight. But note whether you actually do feel sore over the next couple of days after that. Finishing off, we might as well, while we've got the bands out, I know this has been a slightly longer class than before. One more exercise. It's called the dart, and we're going to lie on the bands nice and flat. I might just pitch my mat this way a little bit actually. So you're going to lie on the band flat, and it will probably be about here, about at the top of your thighs. Lay it out nice and flat, roughly in the middle of the band, at the middle of your mat, sorry. And then the test is, when you lie down, you're going to straighten out your arms, put your fingers underneath the band, and just have your thumbs on top. So your arms are nice and straight. If the band is too high up here, your arms are going to be bent. And keep the fingers and the wrists flat and straight. And in fact, just have a little look before we do the actual exercise. So we're going to take the dart, but we're going to do something quite unusual with the hands and the band. You're going to lift your arms up so they're parallel. You're going to keep your thumb on top of the band. You're going to wrap your thumb up in the band as you turn your hands so palms are down, and then you're going to stretch the band out sideways and trying to keep the wrist straight, as I realised I wasn't doing then. It's quite strong. And then we're going to unwrap and lay the hands back down again. So let's take big toes together, heels dropped out to the side, Quasimodo shoulders, the tips of the fronts of both shoulders just touching the mat, tip of your nose touching the mat. So at the moment everything is relaxed. My arms are relaxed. There's no stress or tension, no muscle activation anywhere. Let's just take the top half of the body. So lift the tip of your nose up slightly. Then lift your shoulders up. So your collarbone is now in a straight line. Then lift the arms up so they're parallel to the floor, level with your body. Now wrap your thumbs in and around. Open the arms out a little bit. Stay low so we're level The body is level, parallel to the floor really, we haven't lifted up too much. Stretch those arms out a little bit if you can. And then unravel, palms are up, arms are down, shoulders are down, tip of the nose touching the floor. Let's add the legs into that equation and add a back extension. So tip of the nose comes up, not very far. Shoulders lift up. Try not to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Have a sense of breadth across the collarbone. Lift the arms up. Wrap your thumbs in and just hold that position. So palms are down. Now let's activate the buttocks. Turn the legs out in the hip socket. Keep the legs together, so when the legs are turned out, heels are together, toes are on the floor. Now from here, you're going to stretch your arms out to the side, you're going to open up the legs, and you're going to lift your upper back, reaching fingertips towards your toes. Toes are still on the floor, legs are turned out, pubic bone is pushing in, it's strong work, and then come back in, relax everything, reverse everything, collapse. Let's try that one more time. Let's start at the other end this time. Let's start with the legs. Switch the buttocks on, turn the legs out. Push the backs of your knees together, heels are together, toes are on the floor. Hold that there. Now lift the tip of the nose, lift the shoulders, the fronts of the shoulders, lift your arms. Wrap your thumbs up, but hold it there. Slide your hands, your fingers to reach your feet. Slide those shoulder blades down in your back. Now, as we open the arms out more, open up the legs, lift your upper back. Hold it there. Hold it there. Hold it and breathe. Keep that pubic bone pushing into the mat. And then come back and collapse. Fantastic. Come up onto all fours. Lose the band. Just going to straighten up my mat a little bit. Let's go on all fours. Take a nice spine circle, a couple in each direction. And then circling around. So vertical circles I did. Now I'm doing horizontal circles. Curl those toes under, lift your hips up, push your chest back through your arms, bending one knee at a time, stretching the calves, coming down onto all fours. Let's just finish off, big toes together, knees really nice and wide, stretch your arms forwards, sway from side to side. Feel that stretch down the side seam of your back. Roll over your shins, your knees, your hips. And then slowly, if you can, unravelling through the spine, coming up to a kneeling position. Well done. Good job if you stayed all the way through. That was a tough class. Hopefully you get to use your band and get the most use out of it. Thank you very much for joining me.